Well, it looks like the fiscal cliff deal passed in the wee hours right before midnight by an overwhelming margin. So they're averting the fiscal cliff, which means, of course, that the threats from Fitch and Moody's and all that about downgrading the U.S. debt shall be forestalled for a little while longer. But you never know, tell you the truth, you never know. One little interesting thing I should point out, because I always show two-wheeled vehicles on my silver updates, but there's going to be a tax credit offered for two- and three-wheeled vehicles that are electric. So that's pretty cool. So maybe you can have that little plug-in bicycle moped type thing and get it cheaper and get a tax break on it. Not sure the details on it, but that's something that's offered in that. So, one thing I'm thinking that eventually this conflict with Iran is going to come about one of these days, someday. And that's when we're going to see the fly up in silver, but also going to see a fly up in oil prices and gasoline prices, $8 a gallon or some garbage, if that happens, when that happens. And if you get your little, electric two or three-wheeled vehicle now, in this year, you're going to get your tax break on it, get a little cheaper, and then you can use that at times when it's more convenient, at certain days when it's not too cold or too rainy. Save yourself a couple dollars and maybe enjoy it too. So like this woman is enjoying her ride here with the stretched out cruiser type and the ape hangers on a bicycle. So it looks like we have a Springer type front end on it too, which is pretty wild for a bicycle, and lots of extra spokes. Pretty custom job in pink. But anyway, as far as silver and gold actually are going up because we averted the fiscal cliff. What would have probably happened if we didn't avert the fiscal cliff is you might see it go down. Then to talk about Fitch, we might be saying we're going to downgrade or talk more sternly about downgrading and maybe possibly downgrade. Say they did not pass the fiscal cliff. You might initially seen silver and gold go down, but if they downgraded the debt, that would have flew it up. It would have went flying a lot higher. So, but one other indication that the dollar is weakening also is the crude oil is going up. Now, across the board, everything's going up, including the equities, but that is really due to the weakening of the dollar. You're not going to see that too much on the index itself because the index is still around 80. But there's a weakening of all currencies, including the yen, especially the yen now, because they're going into like super QE in Japan, and we all know that the euro is in trouble. So the dollar index is relative to other currencies, especially the euros, but all currencies look like they're getting weaker, and hard goods are going up. That's the precious metals and oil. So same old story, but I don't want to just say keep on stacking, because you might want to if you're already stacked and you've been stacking for a couple of years now, and you have a significant amount of your wealth or savings in precious metals like silver, I would not get too lopsided on it. Try to find other methods to cut your bills. I even want to mention this. Now, I'm a little hedonistic, so here's another bicycle here. I also want to mention this. Since I'm doing like financial update here, this is a small thing, but I could tell you this from experience. Everybody's got a phone bill, right? You have a cell phone company and you have a regular phone. Like I have both. Some people now, they pretty much got rid of their landline, but I like the landline because it always works even when the power happens to go out or whatever. But the one thing to do, and this is like coming from a guy that's an accountant that looks for savings for cuffed people at any level there is, and it doesn't matter. Call and ask the phone company, both of your phone services or the one that you have, if you only have one, every 6 months or every 4 months, call them up. Ask them for a special deal. Ask them, and ask them if they have anything free to give you. You've been a customer for 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. Do you have anything free you can offer me? I've been a customer so long, and there's this other company out there. I'm not going to mention it, but they're offering this. You can make it up too. You can say they got the same plan except it's better. And or I can eliminate this by going to satellite or cable or whatever, and I don't need your service at all. And it's going to cost me. Can you give me a break on this? And see what they do. Negotiate. Don't be afraid to negotiate. But I'll tell you this: if you've been on a plan, I know this is silver update, but I'm going to give you other financial advice because I know a lot of those stupid things people aren't thinking of. But if you've been on a phone plan forever, they will not necessarily put you on a cheaper phone plan automatically. In other words, say you're on unlimited internet, DSL, and unlimited calling and all this other garbage. They can actually come out with a plan that maybe has 10 times the internet speed and is $30 a month cheaper. For instance, that's an example. And they will not tell you that, and they will not switch the plan. They'll keep you on the old expensive plan forever. You have to call them, and a lot of times, even if you check their websites, they don't tell you everything that's available. That's why every 4 to 6 months, call your phone company up, and you might actually get better deal, better service, and it'll be less money. That's true as anything. I've been dealing with this in companies and stuff for years. It's constantly switching people, constantly, because there's always a better deal out there. And that's just the way it is. That's business. Actually, they should do that with people too, because actually seeing offices, there's a lot of dead wood out there. You might see, I'm going off on a tangent here a little bit, but for instance, if you look in an office, from my experience, a lot of times people can't lift a 15-pound box, and you might see women like that too. But consider now that we have women in combat. Sorry, you can lift a 15-pound box. Too bad. That's the way it goes. That's another deal. But anyway, as far as what's coming up with the fiscal cliff, the fiscal cliff has been averted. But it'd be very smart to actually look and I forget how many pages it is. I was looking through all the tax codes and stuff, basically what they passed. And basically, it's a number of extensions. But what this does mean is that the debt ceiling is going to keep on increasing. So as a debt ceiling in other words, there's a limit to how much they can keep increasing this debt ceiling. Somebody's got to buy our debt. And actually, in reality, it's not the Chinese or the foreigners that are buying our debt so much now. Actually, a lot of our debt is actually held by domestic institutions. But it's probably the Federal Reserve itself. So if they go out there and they do a sale on bonds and it turns out they don't have enough people to buy them, what happens is the Federal Reserve is buying them behind the scenes. And they, in turn, are actually buying mortgage-backed securities from the banks and exchanging it for the debt, the bonds, the dollars. And the banks are supposed to hold the dollars. This deal is not going to hold together forever. That's quite obvious. But yeah, I know. I wish I knew exactly when a turning point would be, too. Exactly. But in principle, there's no way in hell you're going to lose out on gold and silver even now. They're not in a bubble right now. This is not a bubble. It's going to go to a bubble eventually. But actually, that's going to be your biggest fear, because when you actually sell gold and silver, what's going to be your next step? What's going to be your next step? Now, quite obviously, I mentioned this before. No business that sells anything, no matter if they got this huge capital gain from the sale of buildings and property that they held for 15 years, and they got this huge capital gain that they sold, they're not going to just hold fiat cash. Even in times of non-inflation and the dollar is very stable and safe, they're just not going to hold fiat cash. What you do is you look for the next venture, and it's not easy. It's not easy to do so. But, actually the thing I think that's going to be coming on strong, because it's starting to get legalized in certain states, and once the word gets out to other states, it's going to spread like wildfire. I think it's industries that are around industrial hemp and medicinal marijuana. That area is probably going to be very strong in the future. Right now, it's kind of limited to like Colorado and Washington and California, and a couple other places, maybe up in Canada. But as some of the laws, were rescinded, I know it's mainly over recreational use, but as it's going to get out more and more where people can get a hold of medicinal marijuana oil, and you're going to find out, hey, it works against Parkinson's, it works against cancer, and all that type of stuff. I think that's going to be a hot industry, but it might take a few more years to actually really take off. So if, a few years from now, the gold and silver is way the hell up and you sell it, that might be the next step. So just some long-range advice. But, no business, I don't care if the dollar's stable at all. When you sell the hard assets, or you sell even the goods that you're producing in the business for fiat dollars, you're not holding that anyway. You're always looking to reinvest, especially in something that produces income, which is even more important. That's why rental properties sometimes are good in some situations. That might not be good right now, though, because I think the commercial real estate property area is going to go down, down. So this is a silver update, but I'm just spewing out like my normal stuff that I dealt with and deal with actually ongoing, and that I normally do with in the financial world. And actually I want to tell you this too. Even if rental properties and commercial real estate and residential real estate might be down in the United States, doesn't mean it's down everywhere in the world. There's a lot of places in South and Central America where that industry is very hot. So, it's like, if you're going to think outside of just the United States, even those areas can be very good. But you got to keep your nose out and just keep looking. But silver and gold look like right now they're taking off because the fiscal cliff has been inverted at the wee hours right before midnight, and it was overwhelmingly passed by the Senate. I forgot what it was. It was like they got like 90-something% of the vote or something. Yay. And it passed flying colors. So spending spree is still going, and that means the dollar is going to get weaker too, no matter how you look at it.